Hi everyone, it's Ket McConnell here from Enterprise Lab, and welcome to 2017, and more importantly, welcome back to the League of Disruptors show. Boy oh boy have we got a week on this week. In fact, we've got an amazing year of talented experts, business owners and professionals who are going to be giving you stepping into their geniuses to help you step into yours. But without further ado, I want to introduce my first guest of 2017, and I'm really pleased actually that I've got this guest on as my first guest for 2017. Her name's Vanessa Talbot. I'll let her come in and tell her a little bit about herself in a second, but you know, what a person, all the way from Australia. So we're totally international this morning here in the UK. And what can I say about Vanessa? She's the founder of the company Extraordinary Beings. She's an author. She's the creator of a massive Facebook group. I mean, I think there's like 16,000 people in this group. But the reason why I had someone like Vanessa come on first today is not just about stepping into your spotlight. Here is someone that helps people build their profiles, and I think, you know, it's a great way to get 2017 started off. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first guest for 2017, and that's Vanessa Talbot. Vanessa, good morning and good evening. How are you?
Good morning and good evening. Good evening at my place, morning for you.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm good, and just before anyone hears it, I do have a very disrupting galah in the background, so occasionally you might hear it.
A galah. For those of you, well, just for the sanity of those that are in the UK, probably don't know what a galah is. Could you explain that one to us very quickly?
It's an Australian cockatoo, so it's a little one that's pink and grey, and they're very, very rowdy. Fantastic.
I like it. We've got the right audience in already. We've got the right guest today. She's got a disruptive cockatoo. That's a galah. That's a galah. So Vanessa, it'd be really good to sort of really just get stuck into this sort of show today about stepping into the spotlight and building profiles. But before we do that, I'd really like for you to tell our audiences a little bit about who you are, where you've come from, and a little bit about your story and journey up to where you are today.
Okay, that's a nice doorway that you've opened there. I started out in the mining industry actually, so completely, left field to what I'm doing now. So I ran a big mining company with my husband at the time when I was married. Mm-hmm. Obviously high income mining industry out here in Australia is huge. So we ran one of the large ones in that. Then when we got divorced, I got chucked out of the company, as you do.
Wow.
So my husband went off with the company, fair enough, and so I had to start again and find a way to bring in income while keeping my lifestyle, because my lifestyle was very important to me. A lot of your listeners won't know who I am, but I do a lot of wildlife caring, hence the galah in the background, and there's also a little joey hopping around. People will see my kangaroo pictures. And I have horses, and I live out on a country property, and I couldn't stand the idea of going into town and working 9 to 5 for someone. So I thought, what can I do? And I thought I could take my experience in running a very, very large company and teach other people. And that's how I started out doing success coaching. It's what I started out with. But, 6 years on, and as most people who enter this field, our paths do kind of go on a bit of a zigzag at times. Yeah, so that's what I started out doing and how I got into it, just purely because I wanted to keep my lifestyle and earn good money while being able to stay at home.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of that. I mean, I've had a lot of experts and business owners on the show last year actually that were trying, when they came into this world of, I wouldn't say entrepreneurship, it's more about owning your own business. It was more about that lifestyle freedom and working and living in your own terms type of basis. It can be, I mean, a lot of the people that tend to fall into sort of business, especially a lifestyle business, they normally tend to come through from being an employee of someone to actually then owning their own business. Yours is slightly different, I guess. You know, you were in another business. You were almost kind of running. Would it be fair to say running a business at that time with your partner or the then partner at that time, to then actually kind of slip out and slip into this whole thing of designing a business which was more based around your lifestyle as opposed to, you know, just your ambition in terms of, you know, creating wealth and employable opportunities and stuff. So, you know, I suppose, you know, having your personal circumstances and your lifestyle and the things that you wanted based around you, what did you find was one of the most difficult challenges that you had of actually transforming over from a really large company, as you say you were kind of co-running and working within, to actually now going into a real micro organization, which is just you, I guess, really, serving the world? I mean, what challenges did you come up with?
Mind, for starters. Like, it was a huge transition to come from having my own company that was earning, you know, millions coming in all the time. My personal income was quite large as well. Having crews of over 40 people that I would get internationally, and then going back to absolutely nothing and having to start again. And you know, in those early days, and it was a complete new field for me too, you know, to jump from mining industry. Admittedly, what I did most of in the mining industry was I did most of the admin and the running the business, while my husband at the time was the one that was out in the field. So it's not like I left my house much, so I was still back in my house. I still finding a way not to have to leave my house, which is good. But it was that I've got to start again. That's what was probably the most challenging, and I really had to dig in my heels and be really, really determined in those first couple of years that I was going to make this new pathway work.
Yeah, and that's the bit that I guess I want to get to, because a lot of the viewers would be entrepreneurs or business owners. They're people like perhaps who are at that very early stage, like you were a number of years back, in regards to starting up this business, where they think, you know, they're driven by the ambition and the enthusiasm that they have, but the reality of actually making something work, it's not just about the effort that needs to go into the consistency and the regularity of your efforts in regards to this. And sometimes you get it, you know, these high points of, wow, I've done it, to almost the low points of, why isn't anything working for me? You know, moving from a transition of being in a bigger organization, all those resources that are around you, okay, granted you were still working from home and you were doing the kind of more administrative stuff, but, you know, in the way in which leads are driven in, your big marketing budgets, you have all sorts of things and resources around you, to all of a sudden, like, oh right, okay, I've got to do this by myself now. You know, mindset and the will and drive is one thing. What did you do? You know, I mean, alongside this kind of determination of, I've got to make this work, you know, how was planning and you know, what importance did that have in the work that you were doing? Were you planning big and then creating micro plans, or did you just set out with small stuff and start spiraling upwards?
Yeah, look, the first thing for me was coming down from invoicing $1 million invoices down to trying to find a client.
Oh, I love it.
So that was probably, and I mean, that is the brutal, honest truth. It was like that, just boom, down to, oh my God, I've got to even try and find a client. What I realised was that, well, the first thing I had to do was actually go to coach training. Like, I had no clue even what a coach was. I just was looking through a New Age magazine and saw an ad for life coach, and I thought, oh, that sounds a good idea. It's probably going to make me a lot more money than doing Reiki. Which, you know, I was looking at anything in the alternative field that I could do from home. So I was looking at, you know, the healing and all that sort of stuff, because it's my style. Yeah. But I thought, I just probably not going to make the money that I'm used to in those fields. Yeah. So I saw the ad for the life coaching and I thought, I'm going to give that a go. Signed up, did the course. So I had to do the 2 years of training. But along the way, what I discovered was, I think our intake weekend, you know, they put through, you know, 30 people at a time roundabout each intake every month. And I noticed that within 6 months, a good portion of those people were starting to drop out. And even now, that particular intake weekend that I was in for my coaching course, so our little group, there's only about 2 or 3 of us from that 30-odd that are actively working as a coach and making money. So you've got to ask yourself, you know, what is it that makes some of us continue on with it while the rest were dropping out?
Yeah.
Mine was sheer desperation. I didn't want to go into town and work a boring 9-to-5 job for someone else.
Yeah.
I wanted freedom. So it was that drive about freedom. But how did I get there? I think one of the first things I did was decide, okay, I've got to stand out from everyone else, okay, because there's a million life coaches out there all starting, and they're all looking very beige, and they're all kind of just going into one another. So I hooked on very early that I had to do something to stand out from everyone else in the early days, rather than, you know, just dithering along.
Yeah. I just want to kind of come back into that point that you had there about, you know, there are two things actually. Number one, you decided to take up this course on life coaching. So there was one thing about having to invest in yourself. It's not just this situation of, okay, right, today I'm, you know, I'm doing multi-million-pound invoices. Tomorrow I'm trying to find a client. There is this journey of investing in yourself. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to spend, you know, money all the time, but there, you know, people can learn through reading books, or, you know, watching shows, or, you know, going through YouTube and all these kind of things. But there needed to be a time where you invested into yourself to hone your specialism. The second thing that I wanted to pick up on there, that you mentioned, is the fact that, you know, whilst there was 30 in your sort of intake that were coming through, you mentioned that almost less than 10% of you are now actually still active in selling. But your driver wasn't the fact that you wanted to make money, or the freedom part. What I just picked up on there, you just saying, I don't want to go back into town and start working for someone else on a 9-to-5. I said, the hell that I want to do that. And I suppose everyone has their reasons, but people, what I get to is that people tend to change their reasons. I feel, you know, over a period of time as the environment changes around them. So when they started off, they're like, I don't want to go back and work for anyone else. I want to work for myself. That was their lead in. Then something else happens, and they're, you know, within the environment, you know, they may struggle a little bit, and they think, right, I've got to do this now because I've got to make some money, or it's got to be, you know, I need to live and stuff like this. You were just driven by this whole thing that you just do not want to have another boss in that respect, or you do not want to be in that environment, a 9-to-5. So just give us a little bit of insight of, you know, there must have been pressures at that time where you think to yourself, oh, bills are coming, and, you know, I've got to start getting some clients, or I've got to get some revenue in. What did you do to just keep that focus exactly the same?
Yeah, and to add, you know, sort of more to the pond as well, I had a toddler daughter as well, so my time, like, she was only like 2, 3, 4, 5, so my time and availability for my own personal development, my coach training, for you know, trying to market and source clients and all that was limited, and my finances were limited as well. The first thing I actually did, and this was, I think, the breakthrough for me, and I did it quite early. The first thing I did was I hired a coach. Even though I didn't have any money or much money at the time, you know, you just pull it out and you find it. And then the first thing that she told me to do, I had decided that I wanted to write a book in the personal development field. I thought, that's going to be my avenue. I'm going to write a book. That's how I'm going to, you know, get out there first off.
Yeah.
So I hopped on one of those Hay House cruises, you know, the Hay House cruises that take you around, and you write the book, and you might get in and you might get published with Hay House. So I hopped onto one of those with the idea that I was going to be the winner and be published by Hay House. But what happened was that while I was on that cruise for 7 days, I noticed, you know, there's about, you know, 150, 200 or so other would-be Hay House signed authors on there, and I was listening to them, and I noticed a lot of them were saying things like, I don't want to build a platform, because Reed Tracy, the CEO of Hay House, was going on and on and on about, you need to have a platform for us to sign you. We need you to have, so much of a certain audience, and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of them, they were just going, I don't want to build a platform. All I want to do is write. I don't want to put myself out there. I just want to write.
Right, yeah.
And they couldn't get that idea that for Reed to be able to sell books at Hay House, you needed to have a ready-made audience.
No.
They couldn't get that. And when I got home, I said to my coach, this is the problem that I noticed with them, and they were all shit scared about because they were writers, and writers tend to be introverts or reclusives a lot of the time, not all of the time, but a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Especially the Hay House type audience, And she said to me, and this is what I did, and it was my big move, and it paid off, and it worked. And this was only about 2 months, I think, after starting my intake, so starting my coach training course. So it's fairly quick. She said to me, if you can get all the email addresses of those people, send them an email out and offer your services.
Okay.
To help with that. Because you can identify the problem, they're not seeing the problem, you are.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, one of the women had collected at that cruise all the email addresses that everyone went on it, and she gave it out to everyone so we could all keep in touch.
Oh, fab.
So I sent out an email to that bulk amount of people, and I got 7 clients just like that in the US within 2 months of starting my coach training, and they were my first clients. And here in Australia, to actually have US clients, like international clients, that was a big thing for me. So people could see already that I was working with, and one of those people as well was an author that did actually get signed with Hay House. So you can see how quickly that helped elevate me. And that's how I started to stand out, while everyone else was still stuffing around, just trying to get clients in their local town.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's interesting because most people go local, regional, national, then international. You said, sod that, I'm going straight. I'm jumping straight up.
Straight for it. Yeah, and it wasn't even something that I had pre-planned. It was just an idea that my coach had put in my head. So, and I probably would not have thought of it if it hadn't been for the fact I had a coach to help me open up more ideas. That was the start.
No, that's it. So it brings it in quite a lot of value about how we talked about investing in yourself with courses and stuff like this. Some people need to invest in, from your perspective, not only did you invest yourself into what you're doing at life coaching in your intake, but you also invested in yourself of having an expert around you that could help you think differently, open. It's not just a case of schooling you into what to do. It's kind of almost opening different horizons, that kind of suggestive thought of, have you thought about doing this, have you thought about doing this. I think the relevance of a coach and a mentor, and we're going to get into this very, very shortly, are very, very important. I do both. I do coach and I do mentor, because I believe there's a stark contrast between the two. I'm also a believer that coaching comes before mentoring, because I work a lot of people on their mindsets. I'm very much a case of a 1% change in perception equals 100% change in your results. So it's the behavior and the attitude and the actions that you pull through. So here you are, you put yourself out there, you stuck your head above the parapet, you've emailed this list, you've 7 people have come back and said, yeah, we want to work with you. I'm going to ask you that $64 million question. What is it that you said to them that made them want to come and work with you?
I tapped right into because I had been listening to them all, so I tapped right into that pain that, Reed's asked you to put yourself out there. You have no chance of really getting this book deal unless you've got that helped with you. So I tapped into that and then pushed them towards that future of what they really wanted. So many of them realised that was what was going on for them when they read that email.
Brilliant, because that's the bit that I kind of want to get out there to a lot of our audiences. often enough it's we have a great idea, we can build a really good strategy, we can have a great, you know, finesse in product and service or whatever it is that we want to do, but if you aren't getting your voice out there, and in particular if you're not really striking where the pain point is, people don't realize or recognize that you're there. So visualization for you is a very important thing at that moment, to become visible, for people to say, okay, yeah, I can magnetize around that. But that's one thing. You know, they say that whole thing of talk is cheap, right? And the fact that, you know, you can signal into someone's pain point. Yeah, how did you feel all of a sudden, apart from the surprise and, you know, the big gleaming smile, like, yes, I finally got some clients? What other emotions were coming through? Now you're thinking to yourself, right, I've got 7 people that I've got to cater for. You know, what did you have to do to now move away from the talk into action?
Oh, well, I was only a brand new coach, you know, I hadn't even done all my training. I'd only been doing it for 2 months. So I really just had to trust, okay? I really just had to trust that I could do this, and that I could help them move past all these things that were just keeping them small and quiet. And that was it. It was trust, because I hadn't done all my training. I didn't even have my certification or anything like that. Yeah, I was in training, but you know, I was a long way off having all the skills and techniques that a fully trained coach has, as we do now. But back then I had, and so, you know, faced with these paying clients for the first time, and they're paying me, and they were my first clients, I just had to trust and just act professional as well, as if I knew what I was doing. But it wasn't about faking it, you know what I mean? It was like really getting in and listening to them, and just doing what a coach does best, which is listen and ask great questions to help them move past.
Yeah.
And the perception for them was that I was this big name Aussie coach who, you know, had a big name in Australia just because of the way I presented myself. So, you know, and that was far from the truth.
No, but I mean, it's not a lie, and I love that. You see, the other thing to this is the fact that, and we're gonna tap into this very shortly as well, because I know you have your group, and this is the whole thing about building people's you know, what you do in terms of helping people, coaches, build their profiles, etc. But here in its essence, you've got your clients, you know there is an element of trust. You are doing exactly what your profession requires, which is listen first and then kind of unearth from that environment. I think sometimes people come a little bit unstuck, that all of a sudden they've got this responsibility now that people are paying them for this service. So that can actually undermine their confidence, that am I the right person, or can I do the right things, or should I be charging for someone that, even, you know, you hear yourself, you're saying, looking back in hindsight, you didn't even have your certifications, and yet you're out there doing it in that respect. Was there any time or period where you're thinking, gosh, should I actually be charging people for this, or, you know, why am I charging so much money for this kind of service, and I'm not even qualified or certified to do this? Was there ever that kind of inclination that came across you, and what did you do to overcome that?
I am absolutely sure that I'm going to get some people hate me for this answer, but I have never, ever suffered self-doubt to high degrees. So that never crossed my mind in that sense. Once I was in there with them, that was it. I was meant to be there. I've never been one of those people that, though I'm shy, I would say that I've never lacked in confidence. But people might think that you're shy because I'm, you know, introverted. But yeah, so that stuff doesn't come up for me. And as I said, sorry. People.
No. I think it's brilliant, because it's not arrogance, or it's not it's self-belief in that respect. I like the way that you position that, and the fact that you say that when my clients connected with me, it's almost like as if it was meant to be. So rather than focusing on why am I charging, or why am I, it's like, what is it that I need to do with my client? What is it that I need to move you on to? So forget, you know, that the past is the past. Now I need to just move it on to the next level. That's a great answer. So that, I don't think anyone's going to hate you for that. They will be like, cool, how can I get a piece of that? So if anyone's watching this and thinking, how do I get a piece of self-belief and confidence, well, you're going to have to tap into Vanessa's programs, and you're going to have a look at her group and stuff like that. And I want to talk a little bit about that right now as well. You have, and I'm a member of this group as well, your coaches, authors, stepping into the spotlight group. I think it's almost near on 16 or 17,000 in this group.
We're not there yet. We're about 14.
Yeah.
1,000. So we're getting close.
It's growing.
15,000.
So tell me a little bit more about the group. What made you start the group? And is this helping your side of your business at the same time? Are you actually acquiring clients through the group and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was another one of my little ideas to raise my profile to start with. I had first started out with the book, and this was another idea after that. Okay, what's next to keep me in there? And I wanted to establish myself as a leader. And if you're leading any Facebook group, whether it be small or large, you are automatically establishing yourself as a leader. So that was the aim behind it. And then obviously from that leadership position, when I got it to a certain point of members, to then be able to have a nice audience that's in there who would be interested in some of my programs and that as well.
Excellent. So again, we're moving now towards this whole thing about how do you build your profile. On one aspect, obviously, the first thing is you've got to get yourself out there. You've got to create some form of communication to create visibility. There is that kind of attractiveness. Now we're talking about more. Who am I as a brand in this respect? And part of that is this Facebook group. So tell me more about the life of someone who would come in and work with Vanessa Talbot in terms of improving their profile. Because again, I have a lot of people who are in the personal development space, or they work as a consultant, not just a coach in this respect, and they are on that kind of one-to-one kind of respect base. So if someone was engaging with you, within your programs, what's the sort of first kind of few things that they would need to undertake?
Depending if they're with one-on-one with me or whether in the group program. But really, to be honest, the first thing we have to undertake is an understanding of what's unique about you and how you're going to transfer that into your key message. Because you can stand out there, and raise your profile all you want and get known, but if you haven't got something that's hitting other people that they want it, and they're getting what you're talking about, or they're getting that you're tapped into their needs, you can have a big profile, but you still won't sell too much. So that's number one, is really understanding, what's going to stop me from being beige like all the rest, and secondly, how am I going to then transfer that into a key message that people are going to know me for. So, I built Step Into the Spotlight really on that whole idea of stepping out and being seen and being heard, so that you can start to attract clients and leads and opportunities to you, rather than having to spend all your time chasing them.
That's interesting. So attract as opposed to chase in this, and it is very much that kind of first kind of step into stuff. You tend to be feeling like you're behind the crowd and you're having to chase certain things. So you've talked about uniqueness. What's your kind of, we'll call it a USP to this, or a niche in this, within yourself, not your ability, not your service. Who are you as an individual? And then it's kind of, what is it that you're going to sort of start to overcome now? Within the experience of the work that you've been doing, is there a journey of realization for clients as well? Because it's, I think sometimes maybe you're we've heard the whole Henry Ford thing that, if I ask customers what they want, we'll get faster horses. I'm a believer that customers believe they know what they want, but it's our responsibility to give them what they need. Do you find a lot of the audiences that either you or your clients need to cater towards often feel that they want something but don't really understand what they need, and what do we need to do to actually to get that message out? Because I mean, I've heard different things about content market strategies and stuff like that, about ambitions and anxiety and authority and stuff like this, but it seems like you've got a very linear straight line. Understand who you are, understand who your customer is, understand what it is you can do for them, and then it's the repetitive process. Keep saying the same message until it kind of almost resonates in your client's head. Does that sound right?
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. Yeah, pretty much. So with me, it's be seen, be heard. And that's getting people. They're starting to realise, hey, if I want to get clients and people and opportunities, then I've got to start putting myself out there. That question you asked about, giving them what they
want
and then need.
Yeah.
When they come to me, what they think they want is to step into the spotlight. They think, I'm ready for this, bring it on, when they soon discover that what they need actually is the core foundations to their business and confidence. That not so much confidence, is that self-belief. A lot are missing that, so we have to concentrate a lot on building that in one-on-one, and even in my group programs, even though I concentrate very much on the steps towards raising your profile, I notice that along the way they are starting to believe in themselves and their message along the way. So
yeah. That's such an important thing, isn't it? I just, I've got clients myself. I think one of my clients is watching this live, Neil. Hi. He's someone that's making a major transition from just being a consultant to actually wanting to work with people, in their health, their well-being and stuff like this. And I think there has got to be this gravity of, let's go back there. It's not arrogance, it's self-belief. It's that I am who I am, I love what I do, and I know I can make a difference in that respect, as opposed to, because I think some people think we've got to play it soft. We've got to be, we can't be too provocative, or we can't be too disruptive, or we shouldn't say things in a particular manner. But like you say, I think as your relationships and people start to understand that, to step in the spotlight, you do need to believe more in yourself. Because if you don't, then the vibration, I guess, you give to people is, hey, do this, but I'm not sure if I can do it, but I'm sure you can do it, and it just doesn't sound convincing enough in that respect. So what message would you have for anyone out there that believes that they can do something but doesn't believe they can do something? Because you are all about putting people onto the spotlight and building that profile. So I guess let me just break that question down a little bit. In their heart, they believe they can do something, but their mind and their body and everything else around them is saying is vibrating that they can't do it. So they believe they can do it, but they're not doing it. What kind of advice would you have for anyone in that environment?
That's the trick, isn't it? It's the not doing it. So my suggestion is to do it. You don't have to take the great big leaps in the beginning. In fact, for many people, the big giant leaps are too much. So you can work your way up to that. Each person is different. But even just having a good solid plan and baby stepping it all the way through, and I have to say, a good solid planning each day as well. Like I have my whole 2017 outlined with when the programs are launching, how many I want in them, and just knowing where all that's going to come from as well. And then you've got no option but to start doing it. It's just bit by bit by bit. And you'll find the confidence will build, or the self-belief will start to build as you start to get results. And the results are whether they be results for your clients or whether results for yourself. But it's those results that you start to bring in that start to show you, hey, I actually do have something here, and this is something good that people will want or do want. So you've got to actually take the steps to start getting those little results, the little wins. And I would say acknowledge those little wins, because if you're bypassing them as not being good enough, the little wins and you're just hoping to jump into something massive, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to acknowledge every little win along the way, because that's all belief building as well. And I always, like the fact that the universe always gives us back more of what we're thanking it for anyway. So.
No, you're spot on. And I love the fact that you have little wins. I mean, 2017 as a year, 365 days, 52 weeks, all of these kind of count points. So there's nothing wrong about planning ahead in that respect, of putting those milestones in, but I think there's a part of what you're saying there is micro goal as well. Break it down into more achievable, manageable, doable chunks. I mean, part of my ritual in the morning, apart from 10 minutes of meditation, just to get my clear spaces, as soon as I'm putting the kettle on for the coffee and stuff, is I'm doing my to-do list. What are the 10 things that I want to get completed today? It doesn't matter when I get them completed, but what is it that I want to get completed today? It's kind of like whether I get them done in the first 3 hours, or if it takes me the next 12 to 14 hours to do them. And then within that thought process, I then say, which if I could only just pick one that I must get done, which one is it in this respect? So I start to prioritize through, and I think that what happens is when you have that kind of little to-do list, and that feeling of striking it off, of ticking it, that's a bit like your celebration, isn't it? You can start fist pumping around the room, basically, that you've got. But I suppose that's what you're getting towards. You're getting towards that basis of, don't ignore the fact that when you achieve something, that it hasn't got significance to it. Give it its due course of celebration or success or positivity, that yes, you've passed another stage and you're getting one step closer and closer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Same as you, I have my little to-do list, and they're just like, the top 3 things or top 6 things, and that includes myself as well. So it's not just business orientated. So I would have no more than 6 things a day, but 3 of those things will be personal, and about 3 of those things will be business.
Nice.
And like you, I've got all day to do it. I actually do mine the night before, so I just, as I'm going off to bed, I just write down my tomorrow, what I plan. But because I've got the big goals all mapped out, I can then break it down into the micro goals. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do this month, and this is what I'm going to do each week. But also allow space for spontaneous things as well. Otherwise, you're too structured.
That's right.
You've got to have the structure, but you've also got to have the play as well. Otherwise, you end up boring yourself to tears, I think.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. I mean, so goal setting is one thing. I think micro goals is a very important thing. We've talked about that today. I've spoken about that so many times to people. It's like, keep it simple. So it's achievable. When you can achieve it, then you'll go out and do it. I think the bit that I really like to add from what you've been saying is about celebrate to a certain extent, and I don't mean have to fist pump every single goal, but give yourself that kind of self-acknowledgement that you are moving closer, you are doing better, you're getting to where you need to be. I suppose we're going to be moving a little bit more into sort of the branding side of things. I think this is where there's a fear factor point, and the fact that and again, I get this from a lot of clients that I work with, who in a one-to-one level or in an environment, in a closed environment, they're great. They can talk, they can flow. They've got their mojo. They've got everything. The minute you say to them, right, okay, now you've got to get a blog out. You've got to start, go and get an interview or go and get a speaking gig or whatever it is. They're like, all of a sudden they freeze, and we're going to get this whole thing about people that think they want to be in the spotlight but they don't need to in a second. But I've got a question that's come in from one of our audiences here. Venu's from India. He's like, can you share your views on how to choose the right mentor or coach? It's been really nice to listen to you guys and share your thoughts, but Vanessa, what's your, do you have a sort of a tip rule or like a process that you would advise on how to find the right coach or mentor?
For myself personally, because I've worked with a few coaches and mentors now, have one right now at this moment. I start to follow people who, you know, are speaking my message, or I like what they're doing, and I start to follow them, and you start to decide whether you have a connection with that person or not. So that's, and also word of mouth is good as well. But I think you will know if you feel that you've got some sort of connection to someone just by following a few of people around, and that's usually a good way to start with. And then, you know, when you're ready, or even before you're ready, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Before you're ready, is you know, have a look what those particular people that you follow them, and I'm meaning on social media, like, you know, you might be following their podcasts, you might be following their social media posts, and then just start to have a look at what some of their offerings are and see if any of them are suited to you. But I also think it's important, if you're going to do one-on-one, probably not so much any of the online programs or anything like that you can just sign up for, but I think with one-on-one, I really think it's a good idea to have a good chat with a potential coach / mentor as well, to make sure that in person you two are, you know, that they're getting you, they're listening to you, they're understanding, and also that you get along. So a good Skype chat idea beforehand as well. It's kind of like you're interviewing them, but don't trust me, your potential coach will be interviewing you as well in that.
Absolutely. So
I know I'm also.
But I suppose within your line of work as well, with your business, you don't only you coach mentors, and you also build profile for coaches and stuff. So where does the distinction lie in what a coach does and what a mentor does for you?
For me personally, or what I do?
For you personally, where do you believe the distinction is between the coach and the mentor? I mean, because obviously you build profiles for coaches, but you also coach mentors in terms of their business as well. So I mean, one of the things I have in my belief is that the coach sets the mindset, the mentor does the driving. Because I do both, you know, in two splits, and I split my personality in the fact that sometimes I need to sit, listen, and be patient and wait until someone's tube light switches on. But on the other side of it, I already know that the tube light switch on, and I need to drive them and really push them especially into areas of uncomfortableness. And I don't feel a coach really puts people into that state of uncomfortableness. The coach sets them up, but I think the mentor really pushes them through. What's the kind of distinctions that you make between coaches and mentors? Because I think they're so loosely used today. Oh, I'm a mentor. Oh, I'm a coach. Where did the two start? Distinctly stick with you.
I know that for myself personally, I've definitely stepped more into a mentoring role, and it is more driving my people. With my group programs, I've actually have other coaches come on board, and they take care of the mindset side. So I'm the prime driver, but anyone that's struggling in any group program, we put them onto one of our support coaches, and they're there to help get over, the crap that's in there. So there's a big difference for me in those two tasks, and I find myself now not as interested as in the coaching side of it. I'm more into the mentoring, the driving. Come on, you can do this, and how are we going to do it type thing. So that to me is the difference. While the coach, I think you have to sit, you have to be a lot more patient with them, as you said. And to me, I'm probably not so patient to be a coach so much at the moment. Though I'm very good coach when I was in that mode. Yeah. But I'm just too excited now about getting people out there actually shining as they should. So I think I don't have the patience to do a lot of coaching right now.
Well, I suppose
that's how I see it for me personally.
No, absolutely, and it is a very individual thing in that respect. But I guess what comes from this is from the years of doing it, and the fact that you have, quite a network, and you have your groups. The mentoring part of you is you can see the potential, you can see where someone's going, you can see the gap. I mean, it's one of the things I have. Some people say, are you a coach or a mentor? And I'm both, and they're like, I'm confused. And I say, part of my thing is I can see that there's a mental mindset gap, and I need to be patient, and as the elasticity of your mindset forms itself. Then the other side of it is that now I'm a mentor because I know where you can go, and it's just I've got to keep pushing the button. I've got someone that I've said, right, that's it. We get a lot of people that have great ideas, but they never do anything with them. They're like, I keep coming up with ideas. I'm at that stage with them now. Said, if you ever tell me one more idea, I'll just put the phone down on you. I go, every time you say to me, I've got an idea, I'll put the phone down on you. That's my way of mentoring them out of talking about new ideas, for example. I mean, that's the only way they're finding it. They find it really personal when I said I'm going to put the phone down on you. But that's my drive in that respect. I think the bits I'm getting to here now it's really fundamentally around how you help put coaches and consultants and professionals into the spotlight. We've talked about their bravery, we've talked about their ability, they've talked about their belief in this respect. Now you have this kind of this inner child that's growing. They're maturing into what they want to be. What are the ways that you believe they should be putting themselves in the spotlight? Should they be doing kind of the stuff that you're doing? Creating their own little groups and doing how do you? It's all about expert authority. You've got to push yourself out as an expert now. What is your recommendations on how someone sort of signals out their expert authority?
When I work with people one-on-one, obviously it's really tailored because there's let's face it, there's a lot of ways out there, isn't there? Are you going to be a podcaster? Are you going to be a blogger? Are you going to have a big Facebook group? Are you going to wow Instagram? YouTube, you name it. There's heaps and heaps of ways of doing it. And of course, that can be really, really overwhelming for a lot of people. So my first suggestion is always choose one or two things that you really love and you can commit to them, because as you mentioned earlier, it's the consistency and commitment that makes all the difference. So rather than trying to be on every platform out there, I've got to write a book, I've got a blog, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to... no, just choose, one or two things that you really, really love and want to do well, and then really focus on those. So that is my first suggestion. So when I'm working one-on-one, what we have to do is also decide, okay, so who's your target market? All right, so once they've nailed their target market, what is going to be the best platform to reach them? So if you like, blogging, for example, but your target market isn't out there reading blogs as such, then there's no point doing it. Yeah, but, in general, if I was going to say to you, what's 3 great things to actually boost your profile? I'm going to say now for everyone that I think one of the best things to do is actually connect, and not just connect with the hope of getting a client. You and I have connected. We're not going to be each other's clients right now, but we're doing this, and who knows, you and I are now, have met, and who knows. So it's about connecting, because other people, and other connectors open doorways for you and lead you through while you're also opening doorways for them. And I think that is number one for me. Number one would be that. And then you can try all the other stuff underneath and choose a couple of them, but connecting must be very high on your list. I find that there's a lot of coaches out there thinking, sitting at home in their little home offices, like I do in my little home office.
Hey.
But they're just going to do it all on their own. They're just determined, I'm just going to do all this on their own. And they only connecting with potential clients rather than actually, I do a 50-50 where it's 50% connecting with potential clients, but the other 50% is connecting with other influencers.
Yeah. I think you're really, really right. So true about that. The whole piece about connecting. I mean, for me, I think collaboration and synergies work all the way through. Like you say, you and I have connected. We've done almost an hour of chatting today. That we don't have to go with the intent that the intention that's it, right? Now we've got to get into business together and let's start sharing database and let's do this. But there is going to be a natural fiber fit of certain things where it may come from you, it may come from me, and so it could be like, hey, do you know what, maybe we should do this once or twice, or do you know what, I really love this bit that you said about this, I know someone that would be great for you to work with. And that's where, like exactly. You say, the doorways and the portals start to open themselves up. So So profiling yourself, I think what you're saying here is the number one thing that you should do is connect, and not connect with the intention to sell to them. Connect with the intention to how do you support one another, or how is it going to, how are you adding value to them as a connection, and how are they adding value to you as a connection there.
And if I might add too, just to show people how this works, the reason that I responded to you and said, get me on your show, was because you you were connected with other people who I have had connections with. And I thought, okay, well, connection, and they all seem to like each other. Yeah. I'm going to get in on this party too.
It's interesting you say that. Yeah, I know we have a few mutual connections in that respect. But it's interesting how, I'm not saying that's a behavior that you would do with everything in that respect, but I've done that as well, where I've looked at connection and I thought, well, who are they associated to that I know as well? And then it's almost as if your trust barometer starts going like this, in this respect. You start to think, well, okay, if they're connected with this kind of person, then they must be of the kind of the person that I would like to be connected to as well. So all of a sudden, you kind of start to become more and more connected. I mean, that word connection is not going to come out now, basically, but it's interesting how that actually works by the association of who are they connected to that makes you kind of value source. Now, that connection doesn't just have to be something on Facebook. You could be using things like LinkedIn as well from a professional perspective as well to do these areas. So I guess and again, with the group that you have, has it been a situation where you kind of encourage your group members to connect and bring other people to the group? How does it work? I mean, how do you go from 0 to 14,000 what X that you have? Is it have you been apart from the sort of promotions of it? It's how are you getting the word out? Is it
I don't promote it.
That's what I thought. This is the thing.
I don't promote it. I never promoted it. Facebook will do a lot of promotion for you in suggested groups. So the more active that your group becomes, this is a tip for anyone who is thinking of having a Facebook group to, obviously raise their own profile and set themselves up as a leader. Yeah. When you get to a certain limit, I'm not sure what that limit is, maybe, but if your group is quite active, and also if there's friends on Facebook in there, it will come up in suggested groups. So the good thing about having a group is that Facebook will do a lot of the promos for you. So I've never promoted my group. It jumped from 0 to 500, I think, in the first week. And I would put that down to the name that I used. So I particularly knew who I wanted in there, which was coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs / change makers. Yes. So I made sure that the name was telling people exactly if this group is for them or not. I've noticed that there's a lot of Facebook groups out there, and the names are lovely and fancy and all that sort of stuff, but they're not really saying what it's about. So mine was quite simple, coaches, authors, entrepreneurs, step into the spotlight. So it was exactly just what I wanted them, and that way I just wanted the people that wanted to do that or wanted to know how to do it in there, and it's worked in that manner. So be really mindful of the name that you choose for your group. And just because it sounds like a nice name, is it really telling people this is the group for me? Yeah. I mean, my group, which we're in at the moment, is called the Disruptor Den. So, but it's kind of, it's that word disruptor, which is where we're annotated. So I love the fact that you've kept it simple, so it's clean, simple, and what people can understand. Right? Okay, who is it for? What does it do? The fact that you're saying remain active in your group, and Facebook will do all the work for you in that respect. Be like you said, consistency, visibility, the simplicity is one of the reasons to why I moved my show from my personal profile into the group. So it continuously, there's continual activity that runs in from there. So let's kind of move a little bit now from your group. We've talked about the potentials of should be, could be coaches and mentors, of people in that consulting field, people that want to break away. We know what your reasons were to starting up. We know what your motivation was, and we know definitely what the kind of, I never want to be in that position ever again kind of 9 to 5 thing, right?
people that want to connect now with you guys, because I mean, this show goes out not just on the Facebook platform, it goes up on a number of different environments. So we're going to have a lot of people that are going to watch this post our live today. How can they connect? How can they connect with you? How can they connect with the stuff that you're doing? And where can they find all the details for all these things?
I am most active in my Facebook group, so if anyone wants to connect with me or just come along and just see what we're all doing in there, it's Coaches, Authors, Entrepreneurs Step into the Spotlight. So you can just type in that and it will often come up. So that's probably the best place, is to connect with me. And we give everyone who comes and joins us a lovely little welcome as well.
Nice, I like that.
And
if we've got people out there that are very keen to understand more about your group programs or working with you on a one-to-one basis, how can we do that as well? How can they get in touch? Do they do that through the Facebook group, or do you have any other links or anything like that directly?
Oh, I have heaps of links about we can use them all. We'd be here forever. Look, honestly, the best place is just come into the group. You can talk in the group, or you can even go to my website, which is going through a bit of a transition at the moment, which is why I'm kind of avoiding sending too many people there.
Sure.
While I've got a lovely young man fixing that up for me. But if you want to go to the website, there is something that you can get off the website, which is 7 easy steps to boost your profile. So if anyone wants an idea of some of the easy steps, no cost easy steps that they can start doing now to boost their profile, and connecting is one of them, but there's 6 more. You can go to my website, which is extraordinarybeings.com. That's beings, not beans as in coffee beans. My Aussie accent.
Beings, B-E-I-N-G-S, beings. No, I have that.
I do the American ones, because my Aussie accent, they always think it's like coffee beans. And we can't find you.
Yeah, I went to Extraordinary Beans and I found something that would build me a beanstalk, basically. No.
Chocolate covered coffee beans or something.
No. I think that would be amazing. I mean, for anyone that's out there watching this, whether you're watching it live or watching it sort of pre-recorded, Vanessa's got her 7 steps to building your profile, getting out there. It's something that we all must do in our lives. We must invest a little bit of time into learning and growing. It's something that for sure I'm going to go and check out myself as well. I'm already in the group. I have to admit, I haven't been so active in your group, Vanessa, but I think that's going to change this year for sure. I think I'm going to definitely come in.
I've seen you in there though.
Once or twice. You see, but yeah, so guys, just watch out. She's always watching. Vanessa's always watching. No, but
I think that's a trick to good group management as well, is being present each day. Not all day, obviously, but I think that the group leader has to show up at least once a day, and another good thing is to just notice who's in there, who's playing, who's making the posts. Can you do a comment to just stuff like that? It helps build that connection for them and makes them feel welcome into your group as well.
Yeah, I think you're giving some absolutely amazing golden nuggets there, basically, because again, a lot of people that need to now start thinking about how they get out there. Social networking is going to be the most important thing. I mean, our TVs are now becoming what our radios are, smartphones are our new TVs, all the different digital platforms are the channels. I love the fact that you've talked about in the past that you don't have to overwhelm yourself with so many different platforms. Choose the ones that resonate to your audience and resonate to you. But and the lasting comments that kind of I want to stick out from what we've talked about today is consistency and visibility. The two things of constantly being there and making sure that you are visible. It doesn't matter if you haven't got your message A1 perfected. That will happen as you continually practice. But being authentic in the sense of believing in yourself means that you can radiate a message. And for me, it's always been a situation of stop searching for the thousands of clients. Just focus on the first one, and take it on from there. So we have actually come to the end of our hour. I can't believe how fast time flies. So it's been amazing to have you on, Vanessa. Thank you very much for your time, your wisdoms, telling us a little bit about how you got to where you are today, inviting the world to come and join your group. That's definitely one up there. And again, as I say, for those of you who are interested, we'll put the link for extraordinarybeings.com onto the post if you want to go and download the 7 steps to building your profile and stuff like this. But again, on behalf of Enterprise Lab and the League of Disruptors show, Vanessa, I really, really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries at all. It's been an absolute pleasure. Right, guys, so that brings us firmly into 2017. We have now hit off with our first show with Vanessa. Don't be going away too far. 8 p.m. UK time today, we have Alan Brewer, who, if you don't know who he is the co-founder of the Best Self company. So if any of you have ever seen the personal development journal that comes out in the book, in a box and everything, that's from Alan. Alan's going to be telling us the story of how he set that whole business up and how millions of people around the world are now actually using these self-development journals. But other than that, from now, happy 2017. My name is Kat McQuarna. This is the League of Disruptors show, and we will see you soon.